The sun hung low in the orange sky, casting long shadows over Sector 12. Buildings stood like tired giants, their metal skins scratched and faded. Smoke rose from trash fires. A cold wind blew through the narrow lanes, carrying the scent of oil, rust, and burnt plastic. On a quiet street corner, near a broken vending machine, a boy sat on an old milk crate. His name was Daru. He looked about 13, but no one knew for sure, not even him. His clothes were patched in many places, and his shoes didn't match. But in his hands he held something special, a handmade string instrument made from scrap metal and wires. It looked odd, but it made music deep, warm, and strange. Daru played with his eyes closed. His fingers moved smoothly, as if they had always known what to do. The music didn't follow any known song. It was soft, yet strong. Sad, yet full of hope. People walked past him without listening, their heads down, thinking only about their next meal or next shift. Only a few tossed coins into the open case beside him. But Daru didn't stop. He played as if someone important was listening, and someone was. A man stood a few steps away, watching him closely. He was tall, wore a long brown coat, and had glowing spectacles that flickered with lines of data. His white hair was tied back neatly, and his shoes were polished. His name was Osric, and though he looked like just another rich man passing through, he was far from ordinary. Osric did not move. He listened to the boy's music with deep focus, as if the notes were speaking to him. When Daru finally stopped, Osric stepped forward and placed something heavy into the case. It was not a coin like the others. It was a small, flat disc made of shining metal platinum credit chip, worth more than most people made in a year. Daru's eyes went wide. He picked it up carefully, unsure if it was real. "Did you drop this by mistake?" he asked. Osric shook his head slowly. "No mistake," he said. "That song you played, where did you learn it?" Daru blinked. "Nowhere. I just made it up. I don't really know how." Osric's face grew serious. He looked at Daru with eyes that held too many years, too many secrets. "You shouldn't know that melody," Osric said. "Not yet." Daru frowned. "What do you mean?" "It's just a song. I hear music in my head sometimes, and I play it." Osric sat down on the crate beside him. "That's not just music. It's a pattern, a signal." Now Daru was confused. "Signal like from a satellite?" "Older than satellites," Osric said softly. "Much older. That tune, some of those notes match a sequence I studied 40 years ago in deep space. No one else ever heard it. Not on Earth, not anywhere." Daru looked down at his instrument. "But I didn't study anything. I've never left this sector." Osric reached into his coat and pulled out a small scanner. It looked like a silver egg, and it lit up with blue light when he pointed it at Daru's instrument. "May I hear it again?" Osric asked. Daru hesitated, but nodded. He began to play the same tune, slowly, note by note. As the music filled the air, the scanner came to life. Lines of light danced across its surface. It beeped quietly, then started to hum, matching the tone of Daru's song. Osric's eyes widened. "It's the same," he whispered. "Same frequency. Same rise and fall." Daru stopped playing. "What's happening?" Osric looked at him with something like fear, but also wonder. "You just unlocked something I've been trying to find for most of my life. That melody, it's part of a lost code. Something not from Earth." Daru looked around, suddenly unsure if he was in trouble. "I didn't mean to do anything bad." "You didn't," Osric said quickly. "In fact, you might be the key to something very, very big." Daru gave a weak smile. "I just wanted to earn enough to buy dinner." Osric stood up and looked toward the sky. The clouds were turning purple. The stars would be out soon. "You may have done more than that," he said. "Much more." He turned back to Daru. "I'll be back tomorrow. Same time, Bring your instrument." Before Daru could ask more, Osric walked away, his coat blowing in the wind. People moved aside to let him pass, but no one knew who he was. Daru sat there for a while, holding the credit chip in one hand and his instrument in the other. The street around him was still dirty, still loud, but something had changed. A strange man had heard something in his music that even Daru didn't understand. He looked up at the sky. The next day came slowly for Daru. He didn't sleep much. The platinum chip sat beside him all night, glowing softly. He kept checking it, afraid it would vanish. He still couldn't believe a man gave it to him just for playing a song, and not just any man. Osric. That name repeated in Daru's mind like a quiet drumbeat. He didn't know who the old man was, but he knew he was important. Not just rich, he was something else. As the first light of morning touched Sector 12, Daru cleaned his instrument carefully. He used a soft cloth and tightened each wire. The body of the instrument was made from an old lunchbox, but it still worked. He didn't know how it made such deep sounds. He had built it when he was 7 by accident. That thought now gave him chills. Had he really made it on his own? Or was something guiding him? By afternoon, the same wind returned. Cold and dusty, Daru sat on the same milk crate, waiting. He didn't play, not yet. His fingers tapped his leg nervously. People passed by as always. Some looked at him, some didn't. But Daru's eyes searched the crowd. Then he saw him. Osric walked slowly, as before, wearing the same long brown coat. But this time, he was carrying a small silver box. He smiled gently when he reached Daru. "Came," said Daru. "I said I would," replied Osric. He placed the silver box on the ground and sat beside the boy. "What's in the box?" Daru asked. Osric opened it. Inside was a strange scanner, round like a bowl and filled with lights. There were also small wires and a clear screen. "This," Osric said, "is called a wave reader. It listens to sound and shows its pattern. But not just any sound, it shows hidden frequencies. The kind humans can't hear with normal ears." He looked at Daru. "But you can make those sounds, somehow." Daru swallowed. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know." "I believe you," Osric said. "But I want to understand why." Osric asked Daru to play again. The boy nodded and began the same soft tune. As the music flowed, the scanner lit up instantly. The screen showed moving shapes, waves, spirals, sharp spikes all dancing to the song. Then something strange happened. A new shape appeared on the screen. It was a smooth spiral, turning inward, glowing faintly blue. Osric leaned closer. His mouth fell open slightly. "That's impossible," he whispered. "That's the spiral key. We found it once. Deep in space. Inside a broken satellite that wasn't built by humans." He turned to Daru. "This sound, it's not random, it's a code." Daru stopped playing. His hands were shaking. "What does it mean?" he asked. "I don't fully know," said Osric, still staring at the screen. "But I think it's part of a message from long ago, maybe from another species. A species we call the architects." "Architects?" Daru repeated. "They were the ones who may have helped early humans." "Grow smarter," Osric said. "That's what some of us believe. We found traces technology buried deep, far beyond our understanding. But nothing alive, nothing that speaks." He looked at Daru with calm eyes. "Until now," Daru looked down. "I'm just a street boy. Why would aliens speak through me?" Osric smiled gently. "I don't think they're speaking through you. I think you single quotes remembering." Daru shook his head. "I don't understand. You may not have to yet," Osric said kindly. "But we can try to find out together." He reached into the scanner box again and pulled out a small badge. It had a silver star on it. "I used to work for the human expansion fleet," he said. "I was a sound engineer. My job was to listen to space, to signals, to silence. I left years ago when I stopped believing we'd ever find anything. He looked at Daru, but now I've heard something. And that something ... is you. That evening, Osric took Daru to a part of Sector 12 the boy had never seen. Behind an old warehouse, hidden under metal plates, was a set of stairs leading. Underground. At the bottom, there was a door with no handle. Osric hummed a short melody, and it clicked open. Inside was a large room with glowing lights, clean walls, and machines that blinked quietly. "This is my lab," Osric said. "I built it after I left the fleet. I've been waiting a long time." Daru looked around in amazement. He'd never seen anything so advanced. Osric walked to a glass case and pressed a button. Inside, a strange object rose into view. It was metal, but unlike any human-made metal. It shimmered with a light that seemed to move. "This was found floating beyond Mars," Osric said. "No markings. No known origin. But we got one thing from it, a small sound file." He played it. The sound that came out was almost exactly what Daru had played on the street. The boy gasped. "That's it. That's the same tune I hear in my head." Osric nodded slowly. "Yes, that's why I'm sure now. You are connected to something bigger than either of us." Daru stood in silence. For the first time in his life, someone wasn't ignoring him. Someone was listening, really listening. And now, the old instrument in his hands no longer felt like junk. It felt like a key. "Why now?" Daru asked. "Why me?" Osric looked at him carefully. "I don't know. But I think the song has always been waiting for someone who could play it right. Not just with their hands, but with their heart." He turned to the boy. "Would you come with me, off this planet? We may need to find where the music is leading us." Daru took a deep breath. He had never left Sector 12, never even ridden a real ship, but something inside him whispered yes. The there. Same quiet voice that gave him the song in the first place. He nodded. Double quotes, "Yes, I'll go." The stars looked different from above. Daru stood near a window inside Osric's ship, staring out at the dark sky filled with silver dots. It was the first time he had left Earth. His stomach turned a little, not from fear, but from something deeper. Excitement, wonder, maybe even destiny. The ship named Whistler moved quietly through orbit. It wasn't a fancy craft. From the outside, it looked like a small cargo hauler, nothing special. But inside, it was filled with powerful machines, glowing panels, and strange instruments that Daru didn't understand yet. He still carried his old handmade instrument. It now rested in a soft case on a table near the control panel. Every time Daru looked at it, he felt like it was alive, like it was waiting. Osric sat in the pilot's seat, checking coordinates. He didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "We're going to a place no one has visited in over 20 years. Daru walked closer. "Where?" Osric turned to face him. "It's a research station, one I used to work at. It floats near a dead moon on the edge of our system. The last signal sent from there was ... strange. A soft pulse, shaped like a song." Daru's eyes widened. "Like the one I played?" "Yes," Osric said. "Exactly like that." Hours passed. The stars moved slowly outside. Daru sat near a small screen and watched old recordings Osric had stored. Some showed planets. Others showed spinning signals, sound waves, and unreadable codes. But one file caught his attention. A video. It showed a group of scientists standing near a large glowing object. It was round, smooth, and pulsing with a soft blue light. One of the scientists touched it and whispered something. Then the object began to hum. The video cut off after that. Daru looked over at Osric. "What happened to them?" Osric's face was serious. "We never found out. After that video, the whole station went silent. Soon, the Whistler reached the dead moon. It was large and covered in deep craters. The research station floated nearby, dark and quiet. It was shaped like a giant ring with long arms. Its lights were off. No signals came from it. Osric brought the ship close and docked. "Stay close," he told Daru. "We don't know what's still working in there." They stepped into the airlock and entered the station. Inside, it was cold and dim. Emergency lights flickered. Dust floated in the air. Old machines stood silent, covered in wires and ice. But something else filled the space too, a feeling. As if the walls were listening. Daru shivered. "This place feels strange," he said. Osric nodded. "It's been untouched for years. But it's not dead." He pointed down a hallway. "The main lab is this way." They walked slowly. Each step echoed. Finally, they reached a round room with a high ceiling. In the center stood a tall, glass-like pillar. At its base were panels and controls, most broken. But the pillar itself still glowed faintly. Osric whispered, "That's where we first heard the song." Daru stepped forward. Without meaning to, he opened his case and took out his instrument. His fingers moved on their own. A soft tune began to rise. The pillar pulsed. Light inside it spun slowly. Osric's eyes widened. "It's reacting." Daru played more, and the pillar responded each note, causing a light to brighten, a pulse to echo. Then, with a low hum, the room began to shift. The walls glowed. A voice, not in words, filled the space. It wasn't a human voice. It sounded like wind, waves, and bells all together. Daru stopped playing. "What was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Osric stepped closer to the pillar. "I think... it's speaking." Suddenly, the lights around them flashed in rhythm. A hologram appeared above the pillar. It showed a shape, a floating monolith, black and smooth, spinning slowly. Then it changed. The shape became a human figure, glowing blue, but not quite real. Its face was peaceful, its eyes closed. Then it opened its mouth and sang. The song was not loud, but it shook the air. It was the same melody Daru had played, almost exactly. Then it stopped, and the figure looked directly at Daru. "You carry the echo," it said. Daru stared, frozen. "I don't understand," he said quietly. The figure spoke again. "You are a vessel. The seed of memory. The song lives in you." Osric stepped forward. "Who are you? Are you the architects?" The figure paused. "We are those who came before. We shaped paths, we planted sounds. Few hear. Fewer still respond." It turned its head toward Daru again. "He hears." The figure vanished. The room dimmed. Daru sat down slowly, his heart racing. "I didn't do anything special. I just played what I felt." Osric placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is what's special. You didn't study it or learn it. You remembered it." He looked at the pillar. "The architects. They left something in human minds, maybe in your blood. A memory passed down for generations." Daru looked up at him. "Why?" Osric thought for a moment. Maybe they were waiting for someone to play the song again, to unlock something hidden. Daru looked at his instrument. It looked old again, simple. But he now knew it was more, much more. He stood. "What do we do now?" Osric smiled, eyes full of purpose. "Now we follow the melody and find out where it wants to take us." The whistler moved through space like a quiet bird gliding across the sky. Inside, Daru sat near the front window, staring at the stars. They weren't just tiny lights anymore. Now they felt alive, like they were watching, listening, waiting. Next to him, Osric worked at the control panel. He entered coordinates and read lines of data, but every few minutes he looked at Daru, as if checking to see if the boy still felt the song inside him. They had left the old research station behind. It was now marked as active in Osric's records, alive again, thanks to Daru's music. But the melody hadn't ended there. After their visit, the boy's dreams had changed. Every night he saw a new shape, a new sound, a new path in the stars. And in the middle of it all stood a dark, silent structure, a monolith, waiting. "You're quiet," Osric said as he checked their ship's navigation. "I hear a new tune," Daru answered, softly. "It's softer than before. But it's growing." Osric nodded. "Your song is leading us to something. I think we're following a trail. Each melody is a step forward." "Where does the trail end?" Daru asked. "I don't know," Osric admitted. "But the architects didn't leave random notes. They left a map made of music. You're the only one who can read it." Suddenly, a light on the control panel turned red. A warning beep followed. "What's wrong?" Daru asked, standing quickly. Osric looked serious. "We're being watched." On the screen, a ship appeared, not one from Earth. It was long, dark, and shaped like a spear. It had no lights, no markings. It drifted quietly beside them. "Who are they?" Daru whispered. "I don't know," Osric replied. "But that's not human, and it's not architect." He pressed a few buttons to scan the ship. The results made his eyes narrow. "They're scanning us, searching for sound frequencies." Daru looked down at his instrument. "They heard the song," he said. Osric nodded slowly. "Yes, and now they're coming closer." The alien ship didn't attack. It simply followed. Hours passed. Then, as if answering some silent call, the ship sent a message not with words, but with music. A short, cold tune played through the ship's speakers. It was sharp, metallic, and hollow. The sound made the air feel colder, the lights dimmer. Daru winced. "That music feels wrong." "They're trying to speak in song," Osric said. "But they don't understand it. They're copying, not feeling." Daru picked up his instrument. "What are you doing?" Osric asked. "I want to answer," Daru said. "Not to fight. To show them what real music is." He closed his eyes and began to play. The song was slower, deeper, a kind of echo that wrapped around the cold tune and softened it. The air in the ship seemed to warm again. Even Osric felt his shoulders relax. The alien ship responded. It backed away slightly. The red light on the control panel turned yellow. Daru stopped. "I think they're listening," he said. Osric looked thoughtful. "Maybe they've never heard a song like that before. One with emotion." The alien ship stayed with them, but kept a distance now. It no longer scanned them. "They're not enemies," Osric said. "Just lost, like us." Later that night, while Daru rested, Osric reviewed the data from the alien message. He noticed something odd. Inside the cold tune, there was a hidden signal, a repeat of the spiral key. The same sound Daru had played. The same pattern found at the research station. Where did they get that? Osric wondered aloud. When Daru woke up, Osric showed him the data. "They have a piece of the architect melody," he said. "That means they found something too, maybe. Another station, or a relic." Daru sat quietly, then said, "Maybe they're not just following us. Maybe they're being pulled by the same song." The next stop in their journey was near a small blue star called Velman. It had no planets, but strange objects orbited it, pieces of old machines, broken ships, and long-forgotten tech. Daru pointed out the window. "There's something glowing near that satellite." Osric turned the ship. They approached slowly. It was a cube about the size of a car floating among debris. As they came closer, it began to spin. Light lines appeared on its surface. Then, without warning, it played a sound, the same architect melody. Daru felt his chest tighten. "That's the same tune I dreamed last night." Osric's voice was steady. "This is the next step." Another key. They brought the cube aboard. It was heavy, but silent now. Osric connected it to the ship's scanner. When Daru touched the surface, the cube glowed again. A new hologram appeared. This time, it showed 3 points of light, forming a triangle. Osric studied the pattern. It's a star map, Daru added softly. It's where the monolith is. The one I see in my dreams, Osric smiled. Then that's where we're going. As the Whistler turned and began its journey to the Triangle of Stars, the alien ship followed, keeping its distance. But now, it wasn't a hunter. It was a shadow listening to a song it didn't understand, but desperately wanted to. And Daru? He sat at the front window again, eyes closed, his fingers resting gently on the strings. The tune had changed once more. It was still sad, but it was getting brighter. The Whistler glided through deep space, following the triangle of stars shown by the glowing cube. The stars were far apart, but Osric's ship moved faster than any normal freighter. He had upgraded it long ago, using pieces of old tech, some human, some unknown. Inside the ship, Daru was quiet. He sat alone in the music room Osric had made for him. The walls were lined with soft panels, and the lights were low. He had his instrument in his lap, but he wasn't playing. Not yet. Instead, he listened. In his mind, soft sounds were forming. A pattern. A new melody. But this one was different. It was not coming from inside him, it was coming to him. A gentle voice. Ancient, calm, and full of light. Osric watched from the hallway. He didn't want to interrupt. The boy had changed in the last few days. He no longer looked like a street kid from Sector 12. He looked older, somehow. Not in age, but in presence. The music had changed him, and Osric had a feeling it would change humanity, too. He walked to the control room and checked the ship's course. They were almost at the triangle's center. There, according to the cube's map, was something waiting. Not a planet. Not a station, but something unknown. Suddenly, the control panel flashed. Daru appeared beside him. What's happening? Where? Here, Osric said. Look. Out the window, space looked darker than usual, like something was hiding the stars. Then, as they moved forward, the darkness took shape. A giant black structure floated ahead. It had no engines, no lights, no doors. It was shaped like a tower, tall and silent. Its surface was smooth like glass, but it gave off a soft hum too. Low for normal ears. Daru stared. That's it. That's the monolith from my dreams. Osric slowed the ship and circled the tower. No signs of life, he said. But it's not dead. Look at the way it bends light. It's active. A kind. Oh, huff. Waiting machine. Daru touched the window. It wants me to come closer. Not yet, Osric said. Let's scan it first. He activated the ship's scanners. Waves of energy passed through the structure. The screen showed something. Strange layers like folded space inside the tower. Each layer pulsed with sound. But not just any sound, it was music, recorded in light. There are songs inside it, Osric said, hidden like seeds. Daru closed his eyes. I can hear them, like whispers in water. Without warning, the ship's lights flickered. A soft tone filled the room. It wasn't from the ship. It came from the monolith. A hologram appeared in front of Daru and Osric, a glowing figure, like the one from the research station. But this one was clearer. Its form was tall and elegant, with skin like starlight. Its eyes were closed, and when it opened them, they shimmered like galaxies. The figure spoke not with words, but with music. Daru stepped forward and replied with a simple tune. The figure nodded slowly. Then it spoke in a soft voice. You carry the last melody, Osric whispered. It's real, they're real. The figure turned to him. You are a guardian. You brought the vessel, that is enough. Then it looked back at Daru. You were born of song. The memory passed through blood, through dreams. You are the echo of our voice, reborn in human form. Daru swallowed. But why me? Because your kind was chosen, the figure said. Long ago, we planted the code in your minds. Not all would hear it, but one would rise, a child of earth with a heart tuned to the stars. Osric stepped closer. What is this place? This is a beacon, the figure said. The last gate. You have opened it with music, not violence, so it will open to you. Suddenly, the monolith lit up. Lines of light spread across its surface like veins. The ship shook, but not from danger. It was being invited inside. A hatch opened on the tower. Osric turned to Daru. It's letting us in. Daru nodded. He picked up his instrument and followed Osric as they entered the airlock and stepped into the monolith. Inside was not metal or stone. It was light. The walls glowed softly, and every step echoed like a song. They walked through a long hallway. At the end, there was a large round room. In the center stood a platform with strange symbols carved into it. The figure appeared again. This is the archive, it said. Here lies the memory of the architects. But only one who sings true may unlock it. Daru stepped onto the platform. He took a deep breath and began to play. This time he didn't think. He didn't plan. He just felt. The song rose gently at first, then deeper, rich, full of wonder, pain, joy, and hope. It was a song of earth, of stars, of lost voices and new beginnings. The platform lit up. The walls shimmered with colors no human eye had ever seen, and the figure began to speak again. You are ready. Suddenly, Daru's mind filled with images, memories not his own. He saw the architects, thousands of years ago, building starways, singing machines into life. He saw Earth before humans, touched by a single signal, the first spark of change. He saw wars that destroyed them, peace that rebuilt them, and finally, their last hope, a message sent across time. Hidden in music, planted in a bloodline. His bloodline. Daru fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. The figure bent toward him. You are the bridge between past and future, between us and them. Osric stepped forward. What happens now? The figure smiled. Now the melody continues. The melody faded, but its echo remained in the air. Inside the glowing chamber of the monolith, silence returned, gentle, like the last note of a lullaby. Daru sat on the platform, breathing slowly. His hands were still. His instrument rested. Beside him, quiet but warm. It had carried him here into the memory of a lost civilization. Now the architect's voice was no longer a mystery. It was a message of hope. A connection between the past and the present. A sign that humanity had been chosen not for power, but for feeling. Osric stood nearby, silent, eyes wide. You unlocked the archive, he whispered. You really did it. The glowing figure of the architect turned to Osric and spoke again. The gate has opened, but not only for you. Suddenly, the light dimmed. The monolith gave a soft tremble. Something had changed. Daru stood up quickly. What's happening? The others have heard, the figure said. They followed the song too. Outside the monolith, space shimmered. A dark shape moved across the stars, the same alien ship that had been following them. But it wasn't. Alone now. Two more ships appeared, shaped like sharp wings floating with slow power. From the ship's control room, warning signals began to flash. Osric turned toward the chamber door. We need to return to the Whistler, now. They rushed through the glowing hallway and reached the dock. The monolith's hatch was still open. As they entered the ship, Osric checked the controls. 3 ships, all moving closer. Same design, not human, not architect. Daru looked out the window. The ships weren't attacking, but they were watching. They're not here to destroy, he said quietly. They're here for the song. The Whistler shook slightly. A soft vibration passed through the ship's walls, another sound transmission. Osric pressed a button. The alien message played through the speakers. It was music, but broken. A copy of Daru's melody, but twisted and hollow. Like someone trying to sing without understanding the meaning. Daru frowned. They're trying to unlock the monolith. But they don't feel the song. They just want to control it. Osric nodded. They're mimicking, not listening. He turned to Daru. What do we do? If they try to force the monolith open, they can't, Daru said. The song won't answer to force, only to truth. Daru stepped forward and picked up his instrument again. He touched the strings. Gently, I'll show them. He played a new tune, soft, rising slowly, like a breeze moving through leaves. It was full of peace, but also strength. A human song. One born in the streets of Sector 12, shaped by dreams, and now sung to the stars. Outside, the alien ships paused. Then something unexpected happened. One of the ships powered down, its lights dimmed, its engines stopped. It floated in silence. Other two moved backward, as if uncertain. Osric looked amazed. You stopped them. No, Daru said. I reminded them. The monolith lit up again. A beam of soft blue light shot out into space, passing through the alien ships, reaching far beyond them. It's calling others, Osric whispered. The real listeners. Those who still remember. A moment later, new signals appeared on the screen. More ships. But these were different, not cold or sharp. Their shapes were round and glowing, like petals floating in space. They came slowly, with light like morning mist. The architect figure appeared again inside the ship. The true ones come. Not to take, but to join. The echo reaches far, and now the harmony can begin. Osric turned to Daru. This is bigger than anything we imagined. Daru looked at the window. The stars had changed. They were no longer silent. Now they shimmered in rhythm, like they too were singing. And something even more strange happened. The silent instrument on the control table, a small metal harp Osric had found years ago, began to play on its own. The ship responded. Its lights pulsed with the beat. Daru's song had awakened more than the monolith. It had awakened human technology that had never worked before. Instruments, scanners, even old satellites now hummed with soft sound. Osric walked to the panel and checked a deep system, an old network once used by the human expansion fleet. It was active. Signals were returning from places thought dead. They're all waking up, he said. Daru closed his eyes. The music in his mind was no longer a whisper. It was a chorus, a great joining of voices, human and not, singing together across space. Osric touched his shoulder. You've done something no one has ever done. You didn't just play the song. You became it. But just as peace filled the ship, a red signal blinked on the screen again. One of the alien ships, the last of the cold ones, charged its engines. They don't want harmony, Osric said. They want control. Daru stepped forward again. He didn't speak. He played. The melody was different now. Strong, proud. A warning wrapped in kindness. A reminder that humanity's song was not made to rule, but to rise. The alien ship paused. Then turned away. It powered down. And drifted into the dark. Osric let out a long breath. They're gone. Daru sat down, finally tired. He looked at Osric and smiled. It wasn't just about me, he said. It was always about us. Osric nodded. Humanity didn't win through weapons. It won by listening, feeling, remembering. The monolith sent one final message. The gate is open. The song will continue. Through you, the stars will remember. The stars were no longer silent. From the quiet edges of space to the busy trade lanes near Earth, something had changed. Small signal, soft musical pulses were being felt across human systems. Old machines powered on. Abandoned stations lit up. Deep within mountains, devices that had never worked before began to hum gently with light. And it all started with a boy who once played music for coins on a dusty street corner. On board the Whistler, now orbiting the great monolith, Daru stood at the front window. His old instrument hung by his side, still glowing faintly from the last tune he had played. But he wasn't thinking about songs now. He was thinking about what came next. Osric stepped beside him, holding 2 mugs of warm synth tea. "You should rest," he said softly. "You've done enough." Daru took the cup and gave a tired smile. "I'm not sure if this is the end or the beginning," Osric chuckled. "Maybe both." In the background, the architect monolith continued to shine. Its tower reached into space like a lighthouse, sending musical signals into the dark. Steady and beautiful. The new ships, those with soft lights and curved wings, had not left. They circled nearby, not as enemies, but as witnesses. Quiet, respectful, and from Earth, signals had begun to rise in return. Humans were listening. Some were even singing back. Osric walked to the control panel. "I've received messages from Earth," he said. "The expansion fleet wants to speak with us. They've been tracking the song since it reached the outer colonies." "Are they scared?" Daru asked. Osric shook his head. "No, they're curious and hopeful. I think they feel it too now." Daru looked down at his hands. "I used to think I was nobody. Just a street boy playing strange songs." He turned to Osric. "But now I feel like I'm carrying something bigger. Not just for me, for all of us." "You are," Osric said, "and you're not alone anymore." Later, they stepped onto the monolith one last time. The glowing figure of the architect appeared again, this time smiling more warmly. "You have done well," it said. "The melody has reached its next shape. But it is not finished. What do we do now?" Daru asked. "You teach," the figure replied. "You share the song, not just the notes, but the meaning." "The feeling?" Daru said. "Yes, the emotion, the wonder, the memory. That is the true power of the melody, not control, not force, but connection." As they returned to the ship, Osric activated the broadcast system. "I want to send a message," he said. "To whom?" Daru asked. "To everyone." Osric nodded at Daru. "Play." Daru sat near the console. He took a deep breath and began to play, not the song of the architects, not the warning to the cold ships, but his song. It started with the sound of the streets, the heartbeat of Earth, the sadness of being alone. Then it rose, the tune of meeting Osric, of flying for the first time, of standing before the stars. Then it became something new, a melody of hope, of unity, of a human voice reaching across space to say, "We are here, we remember, we are ready." The song spread. Across the solar system, colonies paused. Miners turned off drills. Farmers looked at the sky. Children stopped their lessons and listened. Even on Earth, in the middle of cities, people heard it on old radios, through satellites, or simply felt it in their hearts. Some cried, some smiled, most simply listened. Later, news began to spread. Ships were being sent to the edge of known space, not to conquer, but to explore with open hands. A new space station, shaped like a ring, was being planned, one where humans and other peaceful species could meet. The melody had become more than music. It had become a language. As the days passed, Osric gave Daru a small silver device. "What's this?" Daru asked. "A recorder, for you to make new songs, new messages, new steps forward." Daru looked at it. "Will people listen?" Osric smiled. "They already are." One night, while orbiting a quiet planet, Daru had another dream. In it stood before thousands of people, humans, aliens, machines, children, old ones, all silent, all waiting. And then he played, not because they asked him to, but because it was time. When he woke up, he wrote a new song, a simple one. Just 4 notes. He played it on the ship's speaker, then waited. A few minutes later, a return signal came, 4 notes, soft and clear.